Tough break, huh?
Hey, I'm telling you.
Hey, happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to the Wrap. George Ringer. Beautiful day outside. Not very warm, but man, the sun is shining. No school.
Oh, no. This is all right. What's the date today? The 14th of March?
Yeah, it's Pi Day.
Yeah, Pi Day.
And we just went past 159, which of course 314, 159, 159 in the afternoon. Those are the first 5 decimal places. Just to show how nerdy I can be when I need to be. But
we bought our nephew that you well know, and a very good math student. We bought him a Pi shirt and all kinds of numbers on it. He wears this every Pi Day.
Very proudly too, I'm sure.
Very proudly too.
Just a mere astrophysicist. I mean, what a nerd you are, Tanner. Jeez. We love you though. Yeah. So. Well, we just got done watching the Gophers in the Big Ten tournament, and things didn't go so well.
No, my good friend Patrick Rusey says they're going to go in and get kicked out by 20 and go home. He says, but they give it a shot. And I have to say, this number one, Michigan State's got a nice young basketball team. This Booker and some of the rest of these kids, they can run and jump.
An athletic group.
An athletic group.
You know, I was listening to the announcers, and I don't know why I do that, but I was listening to the announcers, and out of one side of their face, and they weren't cheering for Michigan State or anything, by the way. One side of their face, they're telling us how Tom Izzo has gone back to old-time basketball, old-time drills and practice, and they've gotten tough. And then 30 seconds later, look how athletic and the way this team can run and get up and down the floor. And I'm like, now which one are they? No, which one are you? Are you a grinder? You can't be both.
What makes Tom Izzo an absolute Hall of Fame coach is he adapts to the situation and the personnel he has on the court. And he has seen this movie so many times that sometimes he can make, but he gets very excited.
So tell me how Michigan State, as the 8th seed, is a for sure with a win, and number 9 Minnesota is not a for sure with a win. I mean, folks, come on, 8 and 9.
Small market.
Well, small market and Michigan State, if you look at their resume, they have some wins against some big-time schools. But they've also got some what I would call bad losses as well.
They have both.
Although they didn't have any quad 3 and 4 losses, so they didn't lose to the bad ones, but they lost to some quad 2 teams, like Minnesota, for example.
Well, so what do we got here? We got Minnesota, which will probably go into the NIT.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah, and Ben Johnson, who's everybody's talking about, who did a miracle job, and they were a player or two away, and it's just.
I think they had the pieces to be better.
I think so too.
I think we talked about just before we started here about how inconsistent they were. Dawson Garcia missed a couple of bunnies.
Oh, just
easy bunnies. And I don't know how many threes he shot during the year, but after he shot the first couple threes he shot today, he shouldn't have shot any more because he was not dialed in the least.
No, he wasn't. And besides, you got Hawkins and
Christie, all those guys. Let them shoot the threes.
They can shoot, and they can come up quick. You want him at that situation to be down at least in the boxes, if not in the paint, and because he's a good rebounder and he can do a lot of things down there, especially defensively.
I'm not sold that Michigan State even wins a game in the NCAA tournament. Too inconsistent, too whatever. But I'll say this, and this is a Tim Ringhofer special. You never bet against Michigan State if they win the first game. So if you pick Michigan State to win the first game next week in your bracket, you might as well just pencil them into the Sweet 16 because Tom Izzo is not going to get out coached over a 48-hour span or a 40-hour span, whatever it is, in between where they play. You might as well just, if you're going to pick Michigan State to win that 7-10 game or 8-9 game, whatever one that they're in, 11-6. If you're going to pick them to win the first one, you got to pick them to win too, because that's what Michigan State does.
And that's and yourself, it's the team that's hot. It's the team that has very few injuries. It's a team that has a great coach. I mean, court coach also has. You see the bench back there? There's 10, 15 coaches back there. They must all do something. And it's
Well, I'm sure they all got their deal. I'll see what they do against Purdue tomorrow
that's
on
gonna be a big
Friday,
one.
and then I'll
I'm
make
gonna
my
tell you,
decision.
Purdue's got some cracks in that lineup. They don't have a very good bench.
They found that out last year.
They did. And it's like somebody says, it's,
If Purdue goes in as a number one, and we know they're going to probably go
Yeah.
in as a number one, can you imagine the panic, the stress level all week of thinking, are we going to do it again?
Well,
are we going to choke it?
somebody brought up whether or not Caitlin Clark could fill target center, which she did, or if Edie came in and if he could fill the target center, which
No,
would fill quicker.
Edie wouldn't. Edie doesn't fill the arena.
He doesn't fill the arena.
No.
And it's just like
He can't go stand up behind the 3-point line and drain threes at a possible angles.
He's good within the 2-foot range,
That doesn't.
and he's 7'4", and people are going to go pay a good money, fine money to go watch Caitlin Clark play and stack it in there. The last 3 games that I've seen her play have been to absolute full houses, and it's
Okay, so I'll ask this question. As long as we'll transfer back to last Sunday, and her first half in the Big Ten championship game was absolutely abysmal.
no, it was. But people were sitting there, and you know what they were waiting? She's going to break out of this.
She's going to break out.
and
Yeah, she's going to shoot enough to do it.
And then all of a sudden, bam, 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 bam.
All I'm trying to say is
they did win.
And they did win. And all I can say is that she's not a one-horse show. Iowa.
Oh, no.
Iowa's not a one-horse show. She obviously stirs the drink. She's obviously the best player in basketball. I think we can all probably agree to that. But Iowa's not going anyplace. I don't care if she scores 40 because unless the rest of her teammates show up and play.
Oh, and they have to. And last year, I think Iowa might have even been a better team.
Could have been.
They had a better size and stuff. But the tournament, and this is kind of the deal. All these questions that you bring up, a lot of people are going to watch this tournament, women's tournament that have never watched before, and when they start looking at the television ratings, and you get
it'll be tough the first weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, the Iowa game, wherever ESPN has it on, whatever time they decide to put it in against the NCAA men's tournament. And don't get me wrong, everybody, Iowa will compete well with CBS and the TBSs of the world.
Yeah.
Everything else will be tough sledding. South Carolina will do well. LSU will do well. You want to talk about the fight at all? The melee, the Donnybrook, what would we call it between South Carolina and LSU? Fracas?
And I think there was some things the Duke North Carolina game and stuff like, hey, it's only a game, guys. It's still only a game, and you see people that are making multi-millions of dollars, and it comes down to it. Christian McCaffrey, to him, this is an incredible game, but it's really only a game. I'm not saying that's the same way it is for Kirk Cousins, because he got a considerable raise for playing the game he loves.
That's only about $5 or $6 million a year. When you're talking 35, 5's nothing, or it's a pit. Well, I don't know who Philadelphia and the Atlanta Falcons are being investigated for tampering during the legal tampering period.
The tampering during the legal tampering?
Yeah. Does that make sense? The NFL's got a legal tampering period. That those two terms don't seem to they're like oxymoron. They don't jive together. Anyway, they're being investigated, and I wonder if they're being investigated about the Kirk Cousins thing because, Kirk's wife is from Atlanta, and did they,
he's going home.
Oh wow!
And he'll do well there.
Let's finish basketball before we talk about the NFL and it's the fracas there that went on. So you don't care, you don't mind that LSU and South Carolina pushed and somebody ran onto the court and we got cops jumping the press table and everything else.
People are just going nuts. Stay on.
You're still jaded from 1973 or 2 or 1 whenever you were watching Bobby Knight at Williams Arena and they're throwing chairs.
It was Ohio State, and you
want that kind of stuff, George.
No, I did not watch that. And when you saw it, my mouth was wide open, and there were 18,000 other people that saw it, and that was an amazing. For one thing, was the Gophers are an amazing basketball team. Ron Behagen was the best point guard money could buy.
Buy? Did you hear that?
Oh yeah,
And money
and
you could buy.
and that was Bill Musselman's first year, and this was. But I did go to the Indiana game that year with that too. So that was some incredible basketball going on.
Yeah, some people have said that it wasn't very woman-like or ladylike that they're out there fighting, but I think that's all that part of it isn't.
That's got
I just can't believe that we, well, quote unquote, we had a coach who maybe condoned it or said it was okay or said it was the way they're going to play basketball.
Well,
and so
but she's, I like the LSU coach. She's
a flashy dresser. Right?
She's flashy.
She's something,
flashy,
all right.
dressy. Yeah. So, but I do know that. The women that are playing in that league are big women. They're 6 foot and bigger.
Well, did you see that woman for
6'7" in that thing? They start swinging at each other. Somebody's going to get hurt.
And that woman from South Carolina, when she came in and gave the 2-hand shove,
there was a shove. And
that was all out. Wow.
yeah, if you were playing coaching defensive backs, you'd say that was a good shove.
It was a good shove. It was a good chuck. Good push off. Kind of scary stuff. Okay, what else? Basketball wise. Before we meander.
No, we don't. We can still discuss a little buckets. The brackets are out. I have not taken a look at the brackets. And I'm not sure that is there anybody in the brackets already. I'm sure maybe some.
Oh, there's teams. There are teams that have qualified. Yes,
okay.
Probably none of them that were really concerned about, other than Gonzaga lost again to St. Mary's, which will upset my mother, and I'm sure Gonzaga will be just fine once
when I'm channel flipping and looking around, and all of a sudden there's St. Mary's and Gonzaga, I watch.
Yeah.
Because these two rip each other up. It's always been
they
a
don't
hard
like
game.
each other
They
anymore.
don't really, in the last 6, 8, 10 years, I've just watched them, and I think, who plays harder against Gonzaga than St. Mary's? And they have very, very few teams.
Yeah, it's that conference battle that always comes down to them, and I was okay that Gonzaga lost. I'm holding a grudge against Gonzaga, Mom. Don't hate your favorite child because I said that. But.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you, if you've got a team that goes undefeated through a season, you've got too weak a schedule.
Probably.
It's just and you got a team like UConn, for instance. Now, are they the number 1 ranked team in the country? Eh? Maybe.
Well, they're one of the top 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they'll get one of the seeds.
They'll get one of the number 1 seeds, along with Purdue. I don't care what Purdue could lose tomorrow. They're a number 1 seed.
No, they probably will. But I've heard as few as 5 from the Big Ten. Considering.
So you're telling me that the number 8 team from Michigan State is going to get in for one of the 5 teams that the Big Ten is going to get, and you're going to tell me you're telling me that the 5th, 6th, and 7th place teams are going home?
We'll see how the tournament turns out, but there's going to be some disappointment there. Yeah. The Big Ten is not the conference.
Well, I'm just saying that if the number 8 team is going and the 5, 6, and 7 teams don't go, I'm ticked off if I'm one of those 5, 6, or 7 place teams.
The first thing, what does Michigan State have to do to be one of those?
Nothing anymore. They can.
I think they're going to probably have to win another game.
Not the way the Big Ten guys were talking today. They said it's done. They are in, and I'm like, okay. So that means that the Big Ten should be getting at least 7 or 8 teams. And again, Michigan State didn't do well in the conference, so you can't always judge it by that. But they had those big wins outside of the conference as well. So I just like to pick the seeding process apart for the tournaments, and then you're hearing about these 8th place teams, these 10th place teams getting in. And it's just like, well, so you're telling me that beating Indiana State was one of the wins that Michigan State has. They're ranked 27th, Indiana State, in the RPI or whatever the new acronym is. They were 27th, and I'm like, okay, so you beat Indiana State on your home floor back in November, December, And that counts when you get to March about what kind of team you are. And you're an under 500 team or a 500 team, whatever Michigan State is, real close to 500 in the Big Ten, which is not a very good conference, George just said. And now you're telling me that they're tournament worthy? That's just, it's just like we're going back to the Alabama thing and losing to Texas back in September, and that means more than a win in November. Fully on that.
He gets excited sometimes.
That's a bunch of.
That's why him and Stephen S are such good friends.
Anyway, all right. Are we done with basketball, or do you want to talk a little high school basketball before we leave?
We can talk about high school basketball. There's some games.
Did you watch any of the girls' tournament yesterday at all? I know it wasn't on TV, but
no. But I hooked up to the streaming thing. So I watched all the wrestling, and I'll watch the girls' basketball, and it's $10 a month. I spend more than that here.
Well, yeah, it's money well spent. Yeah, the girls' skate basketball tournament going on right now. Like I said, I just showed you my phone.
Yeah.
De La Salle and Alexandria playing in the 3A. Rockridge lost yesterday.
They did.
They didn't embarrass themselves by any stretch of the imagination.
The biggest thing Rockridge has is that all my sources down in the cities don't know where Rockridge is.
Well, good.
And so they
Good.
just what's
Where's
Rockridge?
Where's Chanhassen?
They figured that one out now.
I don't know where that's at. I know where it's at, but come on. It's all.
Well, they just didn't know because they live 250 miles away.
Yeah, they're only absorbed in their little own world.
They live in the Mississippi Valley. That's a fact.
So, yeah, Rockridge ends up losing to Alexandria. Like I said, showed up well, had a chance. We're right in it till the very end. Maddie Greenway last night goes off for 49 points in the Providence Academy win over Perham. Providence Academy, they still say maybe the best team, the whole state, and Perham gave them everything they wanted last night. Tori Orline from CI,
and she's only a sophomore.
And she's only a sophomore, Maddie Greenway, so is Tori Orline. She goes off for 33, 15, had 8 steals. They didn't even mention how many assists, so she might have had the chance at a quadruple double if they'd have left her in the ball game at the end. Some excitement out there with the state girls basketball tournament. Didn't even really talk about the 4A players, and those are probably maybe the best players, but they got a girl I saw on the All-Metro team who's going to Michigan State. One's going to Michigan. There were none of them that said Minnesota behind them.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Which is a little disappointing.
We got to be picking that up a little bit. There's Minnesota athletic talent all over this country.
Yeah, I got to learn to let that go. So went down and watched boys basketball last night in Hibbing. Had a chance to watch Carlton Renshaw, who is coached by former Bronco Sean Filipiak.
Oh, he is.
And also they got to play MIB, and it was a very good competitive game, but MIB pulled away at the end and got the win. And so they played Cherry, who looked like they had it on cruise control last night again, and they were only up 65-28 at half.
They've played earlier this year, haven't they? MIB and Cherry?
Yes. And yet Cherry won by a bunch.
Yeah.
So anyway, MIB plays today at the girls' state tournament, right?
Yep.
All right. So they play at 3 o'clock today, and if they win that game, they play at 2 o'clock tomorrow. Listen to this now. Let me finish. If they win today, and they should, they play at 2 o'clock tomorrow in the semifinals. They had to move the Class A boys, the 7A boys game that's in Hibbing from 7 to 7:30 because Mr. Buffetta coaches both of them as the head coach for both. They have to give him enough time to get from the Twin Cities to Hibbing so he can coach the boys team in Hibbing tomorrow night. So the game was supposed to be at 7. They had to move it back to 7:30 to give him just 30 more minutes to make sure he can get out of the cities with rush hour traffic. I would just say jump a plane.
Is his brother still working with him too?
No.
Okay.
No. I should say he should just jump the plane, drive to the airport, jump the plane to Hibbing, and he may be doing that.
Maybe that's exactly.
Anyway, they had to move the game back a half hour. I thought that was the right call.
They're a competitive bunch over there, and they'll go after you tooth and nail. They, take it right to the edge of the envelope, as they say.
MIB girls are the number 2 seed in the tournament, and we'll see what happens with the boys coming up here. Double A's, it's Esco and Pequot Lakes for the championship in Double A. Triple A Hermantown and North Branch, I think. And again, 1A, we've got Cherry and MIB. So Cherry should win that one. Esco Pequot Lake should just be a slobber knocker. I'd like to use that terminology whenever I can. I think it's just going to be, they played 50-40 earlier this year. So could see a very similar game to that.
Hey, this is tournament time, and that's the reason they play the game, because it's that time of year, and
I even got to do a game on the radio last Saturday.
oh, what game's that?
I watched Esco take on Duluth Marshall, and so my good friend Dwight Cadwell at KLK down in Cloquet saw me. He says, "Why don't you come and do the game with me?" Okay. So I got to do a game on the air. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
The boys?
The boys game. Yeah. So anyway.
Okay.
You mentioned high school wrestling. Let's go to wrestling before we get out of there.
Well, the first thing, it was, for me, it's a true highlight that for 2 days I can just immerse myself in some of the finest collegiate wrestling anywhere, and that's the Big Ten championships. And I watched the Big 12 the other day, or a little bit of it, and I've watched some other tournaments, the ACCs. The Big Ten tournament is just incredible, but there are so many people around the 14 teams from Minnesota. It's absolutely amazing. Now I'm going to tell you about one family that I kind of got reacquainted with, and this was Audrey Rogotsky, and she's from Stillwater. She's about 35-0 and 142-pound state champion. She's a sophomore. Now, in this household of hers, she has two brothers. One's a freshman at Ohio State University, and his older brother is a redshirt sophomore at Indiana University at 184 pounds.
You must want to get away from Stillwater. Anyway, keep going.
These two guys were one match away from wrestling each other for a Big Ten championship.
Wow.
And it's just one match away, and I just looked at that and I thought, this has got to be Audrey Rogotsky's brothers. And of course, then my mind starts clicking, and I start remembering they talked about it. They were both state champions, and the younger brother, they're going to follow the older brother. Well, that must be some kind of house. I imagine I can see light all over the floor and broken furniture.
Broken furniture, that's what I was going to say. Lots of broken furniture.
But anyway, I want to say, hey, congratulations, Rogotskis. What a way to turn out your kids, and to have them all reach that championship level. That's pretty cool.
Penn State had 7 of the 10, a wrestler in 7 of the 10 championship matches.
We'll see what happens in the NCAA's, but right now, for me, this is the finest college wrestling team I've ever seen.
Well, it was surprising to me when they came on the air and said that they had 7 and that Ohio State had 7 in 2018, and I'm like, wow, I remember Ohio State having a great team, but I don't remember them having 7 in the finals. That seemed, that's a lot.
And they did have a great team, but from top to bottom as a dual team, from 125 to heavyweight. Oh man, there's so many All-Americans in that bunch that they're difficult to count.
Did our 125 guy run out of gas at the end of the championship match? Is that what it looked like to you?
He really might have, and he. Number one, I didn't think Patrick McKee. I don't think that anybody really thought that he was going to make it that far. But he's really a tough individual, and at 125 pounds, there's a lot of scrambling. There's a lot of things. It's when things are flying that fast. These kids don't come up with moves that you practiced. You can't set up this situation. You could attempt to come close or all the rest of that. But, so they start rolling around, and as a coach, you kind of just like, it's out of my hands now. And I think that's what happened to McKee. And he's a fine All-American, and I hope he's got one sour leg, and I hope he can straighten that out. He's got another 10 days. So I'm looking for a good performance from him. But, hey, the fact that he was wrestling in the finals of the Big Ten, and I thought he had a shot at it. I really did.
Salazar from the U picks up the Big Ten championship at 184. That was number one seed. He helped form. That's pressure to be the number one seed going
I
in.
think my wife heard at one time that evening was Isaiah, and I like go because he wrestled a classic match. It wasn't an outstanding match. One of the things about it, very few of the finals, these guys are protecting their leads and protecting what they can do, that they don't let it all hang out. The semis, that's when it all goes. But the finals, they're just a little bit more cautious, and I think Salazar was cautious. On the other hand, he's Big Ten champion, and I don't know, what is he, 34-1 for the season?
Something crazy like that.
184 pounds. And it's just like, I think he's at 184 pounds because the 197 pound is Brooks, and he is 197 pounds of just solid muscle. It just
It's pretty scary.
he really is scary. And then they have Kirkfeld at heavyweight, and they how much did he weigh? And he says he weighed out after workout the other day, 243 pounds. He is so lean and so strong and so quick, and he wrestled this bear cub from Ohio State, and it's just like, and he's a freshman and just a gnarly little guy. Also, the heavyweight division had this Nuthusher from Nebraska, who's one of their defensive linemen, and he dropped about 45, 50 pounds to do this. He plays defensive tackle, and they said, he says, I feel much quicker.
Sure.
Right now, after losing all that weight, and in defensive tackle, you don't have to weigh 315 pounds to play defensive tackle. I think, Alan Page figured that out a long time ago.
Cool. Absolutely.
But anyway, no, the NCAAs are going to happen a week from, I think they
So a week from today?
Yeah, a week from today, and
We won't be doing the show on Thursday, Friday, or Saturday next week. I'm just telling you, everybody, that well, maybe on Saturday. No, we gotta watch the wrestlebacks on Saturday. Come on,
there is the wrestlebacks are also. Everybody think, well, that's just consolation. When you got 2 or 3 All-Americans in this consolation bracket, there's just some extreme wrestling that's happening.
fighting for an 8th place spot is, for some of them, are just important as a 3rd place spot.
Well, it is, and you
Get that tag All-American, that's a big deal.
You wind up 8th. You wind up. You can take 6th in the Big Ten. Oh, I'd take that. I never got that high.
Yeah, it's quite the accomplishment. It'll be interesting to see what happens. You're not driving to Kansas City to watch it all?
No, I see more of it on TV, but we had a shot at it, and it went down the tubes.
Heated down our legs. 4 years ago already. How can that be?
I don't know.
It's scary to think that's how long ago that all took place. Anything else wrestling-wise that we need to?
No, I don't think so. There's just some good things around it, and like I say, the Rogotskis and all the rest of these people. That's what family does, and it's the same way. It's the same way in hockey. I'm thinking about the Smith brothers that played for Chanhassen. If you recall, last fall, one of them was a running back, and the other one played in the defensive secondary.
Okay.
Both really outstanding football players. They were on Chanhassen's hockey team. One of them got a goal. I can't remember, Lyle or one of the ones. Big, strong, husky kids. Are they going on to play hockey? No, they're going to UMD to play football. I loved it, and it's so. But this Smith, I asked my coaching friend down there, tell me about the Smith brothers. He says, I love these guys. I coached their dad. And,
there you go.
And so this is kind of where it all comes out. But yeah, the Storm did a great job. First year down at the state tournament. They've only been a school for 10, 12 years. They haven't been there that long. Outstanding facility in every way, and like they always said about Edina, we used to call them, like Dave Spehard said, the North hates the South hates the parochials, and everybody hates Edina. But that cake eater type image, that don't cut so much anymore, because Chanhasen's got a lot more cake to eat than Edina does these days, and there's a lot of other towns that are wealthy and have the resources and the good school and the good coaches, but Kirk Giles is just a really, really fine coach. And I heard a story about Kirk Giles. He's the coach at Edina. He says, "How do you handle parental complaints?" He says, "I never hear any. Why? I don't pick. If they want on the phone, I'll hang up on them. They know that. If they want their son to play hockey for me, this is the rule. I'm the coach." And you want to applaud. Parents,
It's nice when you got 75 kids that want to try out for the boys hockey team, and you can say, "Well, you don't want your kid to be here."
And you're Kirk Giles.
Yeah.
And you got that thing going, so you want a top shelf coach and a top shelf program. Don't call me up and complain. So makes sense to me.
There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, Edina wins the AA championship, beating Chanhassen, who took out the number one, the defending state champion Minnetonka in the section championship game. And everybody was going, "Oh, it's a big upset. It's a big upset." Well, obviously, it wasn't that big of an upset because obviously Chanhassen had a pretty good team.
They do. They had 17 seniors on this team, and they all came back, including the goalie and all the rest. The reason I know so much about Chanhassen, Minneapolis Tribune did a 10-article story about them, how their program just started, and they come up, they got a lot of kids that come out of that breakout academy, and everything is just kind of set up. There's a lot of hockey going around in Chanhassen and Chaska right now. There's in fact, well, sometimes they even say that there's recruiting between the two schools, but they're only about 3 blocks apart.
It's not that far.
No.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
St. Cloud Cathedral beats Hermantown in the Class A championship.
And it's just amazing. We saw actually a great game with World. World scored with 1.6 seconds to tie the game, and it's just like, you really have to play every second. And
Grand Rapids scored with 1.6.
Grand Rapids. It's just like you watch that and you.
Yeah, I was getting ready for overtime. I already had the thing in the arm of the chair to get down, and I was going to go to the run of the bathroom quick, and I just about missed the goal, for heaven's sakes. That would have been horrid, just a terrible travesty if I'd have missed that.
There was only 6 seconds left when the rush started, and and they went down, and it was a great goal. And then of course everybody wanted Rapids to beat Edina, and it's just. Like I say, Edina has some action going there right now. They have great talent, and they have, I think, an outstanding coach. So,
anything you want to say about Lou Nanny? The proverbial Edina cheerleader. He did better this year when I listened. He wasn't cheering quite as hard. Of course, he didn't have any grandsons playing. So.
I saw Lou play when he was with the United States, with the U.S. national team, and they were playing at UMD. This was my freshman year down there, and we were on a hockey game. They're playing UMD, and he is playing defense. And our good friend from International Falls, Pete Haig, was playing for UMD, and Lou got him, knocked him right out of the rink, right over the boards. There was no glass at the time. There was nothing. In fact, there was wire around 1/3 of the shot thing, and then I remember Pete getting up, helmet array. That's when I realized that Lou Nanny, he was not a small man.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
No, he's a big.
But what he's done for Minnesota hockey, just in terms of image, I think it's great. Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario.
I told Eli, I said, "You've been there." He's like, "I have." Like, wow, you haven't exactly set foot there. You were in the boat that was like, we could have stepped off and got off.
Lou Nanny. Yeah, great guy.
Good old Sault Ste. Marie. Go back any time as far as I'm concerned. You've only been through Sault Ste. Marie probably a couple hundred times.
Yeah, it was, I always remember Sault Ste. Marie. In fact, the other day, I'll tell you about that later.
That's a story for off the air? Is that what you're
No. Somebody sent me a tour of Great Lakes shipping and the sounds of the ships. And the only thing you have to do is push a button. I could wander around the whole room and listen to ships calling the final card. And there's a couple of them I even knew, or at least I think I remember. I do remember the Roger Blau quite well. But there were some of these other ones. I mean, they had just beautiful tutors. So, what are you listening?
You mean they're distinctive?
Oh yeah.
Each one has their own sound.
Completely.
All right, now he's going to give me something to listen to the next time I go to Sault Ste. Marie or to Duluth or wherever.
Oh yeah. If you want to have a good time on the weekend and it's nice and shiny and the traffic is heavy in Sault, well, you can have a good time watching.
Oh,
those
going to
boats.
Sault Ste. Marie is.
Yeah.
I've been there twice, and
Yeah.
we probably, if it wasn't so doggone far away.
It's on the other side of the lake, but my wife says, let's take a ride around the lake one fall. That'd be a nice trip.
That would be a nice trip.
Yeah.
Maybe someday
Yeah.
we'll get to go do that. How about your Minnesota Wild? As long as we're in the hockey genre.
They're picking it up. We've got a new Russian on deck, and I think we should just see how many more we can recruit. And get them over here. And listen, I think they have to find the spark, and right now the spark seems to be Fleury, and it's just Marc-Andre is doing the job, and keep
I think the team plays harder in front of them.
I think.
And I don't think it's anything against the Gus Bus, but I just think that when Fleury's in net, they want to make sure they take care of the old guy, and they're going to do what they got to. Kirill is on absolute fire right now. He's the hottest goal scorer in the NHL right now. If you go look at the numbers, he's everywhere. He's got assists. He's got goals. The points are piling up.
And he's got somebody to eat pierogies with. He's going to be just fine.
Did you know the rule about pulling your goaltender in overtime? Did you know about this before it happened the other day? Did you hear about this?
No.
So the NHL put in a rule that if you are in overtime and you pull the goaltender to try to score 2 points rather than 1 point and you lose the point that you gained in regulation. So when they pulled Fleury the other day in a 3-3 hockey game in the overtime period with 3-on-3 hockey, and they pulled the goaltender and Boldy scored, I think it was 3-3, they won 4-3, if I remember right. If they would have lost because he was pulled from the net,
They'd have lost both.
They would have lost the point that they
tie
gained,
point.
the tie point that they had. They would have lost that. That's the rule that NHL put in so that teams didn't do that. But Hines rolled the dice and it paid off, and they got 2 points rather than the possible only one. Kind of scary, but the Wild are in that desperate of a mode where they need 2 points almost every time they go out. They get Anaheim tonight. They get St. Louis next Saturday. Anyway, they got to go on a serious tear here.
Yeah, they do
to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they do, and it's.
I think they're going to make it exciting, but I think they're going to come up short. The hole is too deep. The row is too long. The sunlight is too short. Any other analogies you want me to throw?
I don't know. This sounds like a Paul Simon song.
Something. Anyway, playoff hockey in the college ranks was started last week in the Big Ten, and the CCHA, and all the rest of that. The NCHC gets started this week. Our Bulldogs get to go to Denver. Played 2 pretty good games last week against St. Cloud, who was in second place.
Yeah.
Ended up in tie for third place. Got a couple of wins. Got a nice overtime win on Friday night on a Steve's goal, and then we were there on Saturday when they took care of business. Got up 2-0. St. Cloud tied it, and then the Bulldogs took care of business and won it. So hopefully they're on the rise. Hopefully they can get to.
Well, in St. Cloud, they were hot as a pistol when they started this season up. They were top in the league, and it's a long season.
It's a long
and
season.
you'll always know that the Bulldogs, if they're a little down or if they're pulling it together early in the season, by the end of the year, they generally have something they can put on the ice.
Yeah, I hope we even thought about flying to Denver to go watch them play Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Well,
We almost
this guy got 2 feet of snow today.
did they?
Yeah.
Oh.
Just getting
Wow. So anyway, we thought about flying out there, but we decided that maybe we should pull back on our aggression. Maybe next year. We'll see. We'll see how things go. Maybe we'll have things planned out better for next year. But
You got they got the junior hockey tournament in Minneapolis. That's next year, 25?
That's will be like going into 26. So yes, so year and a half away.
Okay.
Or maybe it's 20. Maybe it is 26. Maybe it's going into 27. So well, yeah, we'll definitely got to get tickets.
You'll watch
for
that,
that.
yeah.
So NCHC Final Four or Frozen Four or whatever they call it is at the X next weekend, and I'm hoping that we're going to get there. That we're going to go down and watch. Little family vacate together. We don't do that often enough.
Often enough.
So, anything else hockey wise?
No, that kind of did it. But it was a great state tournament. I watched a lot of hockey games.
Yeah. Even with amongst the wrestling, you got to watch a lot of hockey.
I go down and watch a game with Sue, and then of course I had my computer with me, so I could just flip it around.
I have to make a confession because confession's good for the soul. I do the IRC stats, so I got I got a stipend, I got a little check in the mail, and so I decided that I wanted to take part of that. I wanted to add to the array of screens in the basement, so I bought a smart TV and a bracket to put it up on the wall so that I could add this third screen in for the NCAA tournament and whatever else. So we put it up on the wall last Sunday, and I'm watching the Oscars and not really watching the other TV. And Nita says to me, "Wow, what'd you think?" I said, "I feel guilty." She goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "It was a splurge. I don't need that third screen. I don't. Anyway, it's up there now, and so for the next couple of weeks, I'll enjoy it when I can put 3 games up on the screen and watch 3 basketball games or hockey or wrestling.
Oh yeah,
or wrestling, which is when I can think that I can put the screen up on my smart TV with the 4 blocks. When they put the 4 screens up.
I'll never do Big Ten wrestling again without Big Ten Plus. You can watch one screen. I could have one screen with 4 wrestling matches on it, and another screen with
the main one that
I want to watch.
It's ridiculous, right?
Well, it is.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
they hate it. I can't believe that they're allowing us to watch that much sports all at one time.
Oh, it is. Anyway, I had a good time, and Sunday watching the finals was really fantastic.
Yeah, there was some very good wrestling on Sunday.
Wrestling. So it was
I had watched none of the previous stuff. I only got to watch the finals. I was busy Saturday and most of Sunday morning, so I didn't get to watch any of the rest. But I got to watch the top shelf kids, and that was good.
It is.
So, let's talk a little bit about basketball more, because we didn't talk about the Timberwolves.
No.
But how are you feeling about our injury situation and such?
Well, it's not good. I mean, you hate to lose a guy like that. And Naz Reid he's a nice offensive player, but the Big Cat, he's a pretty good defensive ball player, and the holes that Timberwolves had over all those years was on defense and in the paint between Cat and Gobert. They have taken care of that this year, and it's
so they were 2-4 going into the game Sunday night against the Clippers, right? Sunday night, today's Thursday, Sunday night, and they were down 22 points.
A whole bunch,
When I turned it off, and I'm like, and you wake up the next morning, and guess what?
They won.
They won by 18 points. Yeah, maybe it was Tuesday night. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And I'm like, okay, so think about that. From the middle of the second quarter or late in the second quarter, down 22 to winning by 18. And you're starting to go, this is against the Clipper team that is one of the top teams in the Western Conference. I mean, I guess I understand that games are games and stuff happens and whatever else, and teams get on runs. But
and the guys just kind of pulled it together, Anthony kind of picked it up, and Naz Reid has been playing offensively very, very well. And
so, what did you think of this whole move by our good friend Rudy Gobert?
I'm not quite sure what that means.
Well, he was implying that the officials, when he got the foul called on, that it was a payoff.
Well, that's why he got nailed $100,000.
That's why he got nailed $100,000.
Yeah.
So, see,
You know what,
we're trying to clean up our image
You know
of
what
being
they-
these whiner
Somebody-
guys who can't keep their mouth shut, and then we go do this. Rudy, do you think that's going to help us in the playoffs?
Somebody said, you know, he wasn't raised here. He doesn't have our values. He was raised in France. But no, that was just, you know, the thing of it is, you want to antagonize somebody, antagonize some fans to throw popcorn at you. Don't antagonize the guys in the stripes. That never, ever, ever pays off. And I've been watching sports for a long time. So, you know, if you're a LeBron James, look him in the eye. Look down in his eyes. If you're somebody else, good luck.
Yeah, I was just stunned. I was watching it live, and when he did it, I thought he was just like he had something on his hands.
I thought he was flipping the bird.
And then I'm like, oh my gosh. So anyway, and of course, it was a 1-point game when he did it. The technical tied it, and we ended up losing. Anyway, I just had to get that out of my system.
And,
Thank you,
and a
everybody,
number
for
of
listening.
people have brought it up too, and they just said, you know, this is one of those things that we always talked about, lack of discipline on this team, and every once in a while that lack of discipline
Rears its ugly
it
head.
really does, and it's you know, and so they should probably try to cover up what they have is deficits because of Towns and get on with it. They still have a long season to go, and he's going to be out for.
Yeah, they dropped out of the first place in the West.
Yeah.
They were talking about it on ESPN the other day, and they made me feel a little bit better because they basically said when they get Towns back, they're going to return to that form that they were at. So even if you're the 4 seed, the 3 seed really isn't going to matter. I mean, yeah, you don't have that. Being a 1 or 2, you get that home seed for another round, that upper seed, you know. But I don't know. They seem to play okay on the road, so I'm not really concerned about it.
No, and I, you know, and they've been doing that. If you talk about inconsistency, that's kind of been a home thing. I can't believe the way they've played on the road. They've gone through and beat everybody up when they want to. Yeah,
Want to talk football?
we can talk a little football. He's gone.
He doesn't even, we don't even mention his first name anymore.
Everybody at the bar, he's gone.
He's gone. He's gone.
He's gone.
Somebody put this comment on X the other day, and it said, in 6 years we won 1 playoff game. Should we be that sad that he is gone? And I'm kind of like, you know, I've probably been the biggest proponent of Kirk Cousins.
Oh, I've not had a problem with
that I'm okay with him being here and whatever else. But the fact that Atlanta gave him $180 million, basically guaranteed $100 million of that contract, makes me. I mean, okay, I've been okay if the Vikings would have kept Kirk Cousins. I really would have been. But on a 1 or a 2 year contract, and he kind of said that's why he went to Atlanta, because the Vikings were only offering a year by year deal essentially.
Yeah.
And frankly, Kirk, when you're 36 years old and you just blew your Achilles tendon, I think most teams should only be doing that. But the Atlanta Falcons apparently decided, and I hope the best for Kirk. I mean,
you know, and I sometimes wonder if the Vikings, in a way, they got out from under by, you know, Kirk, put it out in the market and see what you can get.
Yeah.
You know, and if you can come up with a better deal. I noticed that Harrison Smith, he took a pay cut.
He took a pay cut to stay with the Vikes. That was nice to see. That will help. I know how you feel about your good friend Harrison Smith. So there was the discussion that Uncle Paul brought up about when he left, and that maybe with that $40 million that we would have had to give Kirk Cousins, and we're only giving Sam Darnold, what, 12 or 15 or whatever it is.
Very much.
I didn't see what it was. That now you got another $25 million, and maybe you can sign 3 or 4 other guys and whatever. The only problem with that statement, Paul, and I'll say it this way, is when you look at teams who have won the Super Bowl over the last span, 10 years, do they not have every one of them's got a basically a superstar quarterback, right? Probably the only one, maybe the Rams when they won with what's his face, I can't remember his name, who was in Detroit for years and years. He was a whatever, not a very good quarterback. What I'm trying to say, folks, is this. No,
Stafford,
no offense to Matthew Stafford. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If you're a Matthew Stafford fan, I didn't mean it that way. I'm just saying, Matthew Stafford was probably less than whatever else. Is Sam Darnold the answer? No. I think what they're hoping is that Darnold can come in and give them some time to try to put their 11th overall pick into a better spot so that he's ready. Bo Nix.
Just in case somebody you don't know who Sam Darnold is, he came from Southern Cal. He'll be a 7-year man this year.
It's 7 years already?
7 years.
Holy crap.
And he's a big guy. He's 6'3", 2 1/4, and probably bigger.
So in other words, he runs just like Kirk Cousins ran.
Well, I don't know.
Very little, very slow.
It's maybe like a fullback, though. Hard to say.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that he fits. I've been this big thing about. I said this to somebody the other day that our astronaut quarterback, we couldn't adjust our offense to make him successful, and all sympathies to him. They decided they wanted to try to turn him into Kirk Cousins, and he's not that.
No.
Maybe Sam Darnold can be more like Kirk Cousins, and we can run that type of offense.
They sure jumped all over him right away quick. And and I don't know.
Well, they had to.
Was he
They
in the
couldn't
free
wait.
market thing?
Yeah.
And so he was out there too, in San Francisco. I don't know whether they were worried about protecting him or not.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think they figured they got backups or a backup. They can go out there and find one.
As I recall, didn't he play a game during the championship series last?
I believe that he was in there in that. Yeah. So he's been there. He knows what
been
it's
there.
like. What do you think of our running back pickup
Well,
from Green Bay?
I think that's excellent if he's healthy.
If he's healthy, there
Yeah.
you go. That's the key.
Yeah, and I mean, I like some of the running backs that they had back there, but the running back goes just about as far as your line's going to carry him, and it's
Did I see Akers? They let him go this week,
they
right?
let Akers go.
So again, it's one of those. It's a money thing. There's no doubt about it.
Oh no, and that's what it was. That's what people say. Why did Kirk Cousins leave? Well, you have so few years to make money in the league. The average length of career is somewhere between 3 and 4 years. You just don't have a long time. So they get exorbitant things, and some football players can play positions that allow them to go for a long time.
You all right with Danielle Hunter leaving the team?
No, I'm not.
Well, we got a guy from the Texans. We basically swapped positions, and we got a guy who's 4 years younger.
Well, it might be, but I watched some people when Hunter was really on his game. He couldn't be stopped. He could not be blocked.
But he's 31.
Yeah. Age is only a number.
Somebody put it out there. This was on ESPN that the guy is 27 and you got 4 years younger, and the money that they would have had to spend to keep Danielle at $25 million a year versus the 15 or 16 that they got for this other guy. I can't even believe I'm saying that.
Oh no, I can understand. I can understand why they got rid of him.
So I mean, they saved $10 million a year.
Yeah.
Again, it's unfortunately there's a salary cap, and you can only go up against it so far. And
so, what do you think it's going to cost them when they get this new second-round draft choice quarterback?
for the first few years, it won't hardly cost anything, because at an 11th round, at an 11th overall pick, he's only probably making, I think, what, $4 or $5 million.
Joe Willie Namath signed the fattest bonus contract in the history of the NFL for $100,000.
That was obscene at the time, right?
It was incredible.
So, anyway. Yeah, Saquon Barkley is a Philadelphia Eagle.
That is, the other guy, Derek, the big fullback.
Oh, Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry
is with Baltimore.
Yeah, that's going to make that team. That's going to make that team a lot better.
My question to the whatever is, how the heck are these two teams affording to bring those types of running backs in? What else are they going to have to cut to be able to keep those people to be under the salary cap? See, I'm trying to be serious, because it seems like the rich is getting richer, right? I mean, that's what it seems. Those are two pretty quality running backs. Although Derrick Henry's is definitely on the decline, and Saquon Barkley's been injured but had a heck of a year last year. So all of a sudden you got Barkley, who's changing teams within the division, which just rattles the chains of the hate, I'm sure, between the two franchises. But like I said, Philadelphia's going to have to give something up to be able to sign Saquon Barkley. It just
Would you take a look at Barkley and Henry? You're looking at two Hall of Fame running backs, and you know, I mean, how many times did Henry win the Heisman Trophy? Twice?
once.
Just once?
Just once.
Oh.
Just once, I believe. If my memory serves me correctly. If I'm wrong on that, by all means, text me and tell me.
But I remember when he was in college, and it's just like, oh, he's really fast. Oh, he's really big
Really
too.
big, yeah.
Yeah. So I just enjoy watching him play, whether he's with Baltimore or whatever. I'm more concerned about the running backs of the Vikings than I am.
The UFL starts in 2 weeks. Enough said. Let's move on. Sorry, that's all we are. Yeah, lots of free agency stuff out there for the NFL. Big, like I said, there's. We could sit here. We could do a whole show just on that. I mean,
And it's going to just.
it'll be
when's the end of the line come? When's the free agency? When's it done?
oh, they really now. I mean, there's not too many free agents left out there. There's not too much to do, but the trades will come as the draft gets here
Gets
closer to
closer.
the end of April. But once the draft gets done, then you know what you've got and what you don't have, and then you got to start deciding who do we get rid of? Do we got to get rid of a Delvin Cook or somebody, because all of a sudden you're looking at the numbers and they're like, these don't jive. We got this and this and this. So yeah, there's
We already got rid of him.
I mean, we already did. I'm just saying that was an example of that. You got to the NFL draft, and all of a sudden you're like, geez, we can't. Nobody wants to trade for him, so we're going to have to cut him loose.
And it's one of these things where we're talking about, the number one picks these days are edge rushers, cornerbacks, this type tight ends. A lot of tight ends. We like tight ends. So it's not just the quarterbacks that are there. In
But
fact,
they're going to dominate the first
they are.
10, 11 picks this year. Quarterbacks,
they will.
It's going to be.
Remember last year they didn't get one until the second round. I don't think they only had one or two running backs the first round.
agree.
Offensive tackles are still great.
You want to talk about baseball at all?
Let's talk about a little baseball.
The season starts on Thursday morning at 4:30 or 5:30.
In the morning?
No, the 20th, Wednesday morning, I think at 5:30 in the morning from Seoul, Korea, I believe.
Oh.
Do I get to say South
Seoul,
Korea?
yeah.
South Korea, I suppose.
Seoul.
The Dodgers are playing. Gosh, how could I forget? Of course, Shohei Ohtani is the draw, right? I mean, that's why we're doing what we're doing. But anyway, it is 5:30. It's 5:30 Eastern or 5:30 Central. I can't remember which one. Either way, you got to get up early. Anyway, it's live from Seoul, and there's 2 games, and then they'll fly back over. But that starts the Major League season, and of course, the Twins, I think, start March 30th, 29th, right around the Easter weekend there.
And it's going to fly, and the way the weather's going, they'll be all right.
They should be okay. Yeah. I'm sure Tiger Fields had the heat on underneath the grass since early February, and they've been keeping it covered when they have to, and letting the sunshine on it when they can. They know what the heck they're doing. This is
been 60 degrees there for 2 weeks.
It'll be emerald green when you walk in there for the first game. So. Twins, have you been following along at all?
I have been watching, and everybody keeps on telling me that Brian Buxton is really looking good and taking off a few pounds, and that Carlos Santana is he's gonna more than pay his way in ticket sales, because I think he's ready to club some.
Okay.
And he is a clubber.
I listened, I think, to about 3 pitches one day and have not watched a pitch live of spring ball. So I am completely out of the loop on what's going on. The Twins, I get updates on my phone, and I see that they win or lose or tie or whatever else, and then we
got to get down there and see, when they get to their roster limit, and you see the rotation of their pitchers and how they all settle in.
Oh, it was interesting. I read the Minneapolis paper sometime last week, and they basically said the 26 or 27, whatever's going north with them, is decided. And I'm like, what the heck are we doing? What are we doing for the next 3 weeks? I mean, I understand you got to get your body into shape or whatever else, but I mean, nobody's working because you already know whether you're going north or not. That's
Southern California teams and Arizona and rest, they do their spring training at home.
pretty much.
And so, they don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to do anything. They, send their players at home. They don't have to, transportation, any of those costs right there. They kind of just do it like that. I have always thought that anybody that puts up a stadium without some kind of retractable dome should have their head examined, and I think that they probably could do that at Target Field and cover it up. Play your spring ball right in there.
It's not a horrible idea. I'm okay, but we got that dome across town that they can play baseball in too, and they do.
Well,
the college baseball teams play over at U.S. Banks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's right.
Got to watch a little curling last week. I don't suspect you were watching curling, I did watch the Brier from Canada, because that is, the World Championships are in a few weeks, but you're not getting the quality of curlers at the World Championships.
So where's the World Champion? This is in Scotland?
The World Championships are in Switzerland this year, I believe, if I saw correctly, and the women's get started this week, and they're in Australia.
Ooh.
I think I saw. So, but you don't get the top 7 or 8 teams that are in Canada. The top 7 or 8 teams that go to the World Championships can't compare. I mean, you're comparing apples, and the talent's not there. So watching the Canadian Brier was good. I didn't watch the first part of it. I got serious when I got to the playoffs and watched a lot of curling. And Brad Gushu, if you're not familiar with that name, he is now a 6-time Canadian champion, and he made some pretty incredible shots. So I had that on one screen, and I had the Oscars on the other screen, and I still haven't got to watch Oppenheimer, but that could happen this weekend. I haven't had a chance to watch it. I'm intrigued by Poor Things, because they won quite a few Oscars, and I always say that I'm going to go watch these movies, and then June rolls around and I haven't watched them yet because there's not enough time in the world.
Well, there you are.
To do it all.
No, that's what wintertime is for. But and I recommend Oppenheimer. And then there is a wrestling movie out there.
A wrestling movie.
Yeah, and it's called Steel Fist, and it's a real live about the Mad Turk, or the Mad one of the professional wrestlers, and this is a whole family, and it's a true story. But it was nominated for an Academy Award, and it didn't get it, but it didn't get the final nomination. But everybody says if you're a wrestling fan, this is the one to see. I will review it. Review it.
There was a little drama today at the Players Championship. That's going on with the golf. If we talk a little golf,
full contact golf,
the Island Green on 17 where they got to shoot on. Anyway, it's the 5th major. Anyway, Rory McIlroy apparently did a bad drop on 7. There's a kind of like a protest by his playing partners. Anyway, he shot a 65 today, but he had 10 birdies.
10 birdies?
10 birdies. He's only shot 65. So that drop obviously cost him a little bit. So we'll see. Roy might have this best 10 birdie record thing. That might be go out the door, because the whole round might go for naught because of a bad drop. I'm sure they got it on TV somewhere. They're probably determining whether he is going to get the heave-ho or not.
Well, I know those guys are good sportsmen, and they'll do the right thing.
In golf, you're supposed to play honestly, folks.
Honestly. And you put that club down. It's for hitting the ball.
So, anything else?
I can't think of anything, but we're coming on to another heavy week, and on top of that, March Madness is about to start.
Happy 43rd birthday to the Chief. Son-in-law turned 43 this past week.
No kidding.
Yeah, he's an old man. Jeez, can you believe that?
I remember when he was a kid.
I remember when he was a kid. I remember when he played football for us back in the day. Anyway, 43 years old, and of course my brother-in-law turned 60 yesterday. Sorry, I have to chuckle at it because, come on, anybody who's turning 60 is old.
Well, I don't know about that.
I had to throw that out there.
When I turned 65, somebody says, "How do you feel?" I said, 65 is going to look real good in 10 years, and now I'm 75, and it's true. So I figured
my son keeps giving me the business about turning 55 in October, and I'm like, I used to think back when I was little, and my parents were like 40, and I'm like, my God, that's old. And 50 was whatever, and 60 was like
over the top.
I mean, you're near death, and don't take that the wrong way, anybody.
No.
But I'm serious. When I was growing up, I had uncles and aunts that were passing away at 60. I mean, it was commonplace. It was
Not
it was.
anymore.
Not anymore. So
Yeah,
55, 60.
we can live long and and kind of contribute once in a while if you feel like it.
Wow, we went way over an hour. Thanks, folks, for
We
dealing
did.
with us. We'll talk to you. We'll
Next
get
week.
you in next week. We'll come in with our picks
This is
on the bracket.
My Nagurski shirt. Go see the museum.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody.